Today we cover a story on a man that committed a crime so heinous it exposes a level of betrayal expected from an enemy, not family. This is the story of Troy Michael Mitteness. Welcome to MN Crime Tales, where we tell the most shocking, mysterious, and jaw-dropping crimes from Minnesota. Make sure you smash the subscribe button for us, and don't forget to like, share, and comment on this video, as we love hearing your opinions on these cases. Now let's dive right into it. It began in 2023, when the Burnsville Police Department started investigating what initially appeared to be a case of mail fraud. At first, the case centered around suspicious financial activity. But as investigators followed the paper trail, it became clear this was not just a fraud investigation, it was the beginning of something far more disturbing. The suspected victim in the fraud was 82-year-old Sandra Mitteness. Sandra was a loving mother and a widow, having lost her husband years earlier. In 2022, she was known to be living in Burnsville, Minnesota with a member of her family. Investigators discovered that checks written in Sandra's name were being cashed and deposited into a joint bank account she shared with a family member. That family member was her son, Troy Mitteness. Troy was 56 years old at the time, living in the same Burnsville home as his mother, in what appeared to be a quiet, well-kept neighborhood. He was raised in Appleton, Minnesota, and graduated from Appleton High School. Troy had no children and was known by many as a devoted dog lover. On social media, he portrayed himself as someone who had overcome sobriety struggles, presenting an image of personal recovery and stability. But under all of that, was a man carrying an attraction to crime that grew into the pattern that led him to a life behind bars. See, most major media platforms in Minnesota did a story on his big headlines, but close to zero of them focused on his prior criminal history leading up to the headlines. Long before the investigation involving his mother, court records show Troy Mitteness had already been convicted of fraud-related crimes. In 2019, Burnsville police responded to a report from a woman who said her wallet had been stolen from her workplace. Inside were her credit card, cash, and personal ID. Hours later, her card was used without permission at a Speedway gas station in Burnsville. Surveillance footage showed a man pumping gas, entering the store, and using the stolen card. Police later traced the vehicle, and the license plate, back to Troy Mitteness. Investigators then reviewed surveillance from the victim's workplace. Video showed Troy inside the business earlier that morning, entering areas not meant for customers. He was wearing the same clothing seen on the gas station footage, taking a purse before leaving. When officers went to his home the next day, Troy initially denied everything. He claimed he paid with his own card. But after being confronted with the evidence, he admitted he took the wallet from a purse in the employee area, used the stolen card, and kept the cash. He told police he threw the wallet away, but officers later found it inside his vehicle, along with the victim's ID and cards. The case ended in misdemeanor theft charges, and the more serious charges of financial fraud was dropped. A light sentence for someone who was on camera stealing someone's purse, and also using their stolen debit card on camera. He was given just a year of probation and 25 hours of community service for his sentence. Essentially soft consequences despite the facts that he was on camera stealing and using someone's debit card. But it wasn't long until he would be right back stealing even more money from innocent people. According to court records, in early 2021, Burnsville police began investigating reports of mail theft involving stolen money orders. One victim told investigators she had mailed 6 MoneyGrams worth more than $1,100 from a Burnsville post office drop box. None reached their destination. Records later showed the money orders were cashed and deposited into a bank account belonging to Troy Michael Mitteness. All of the deposits were made by mobile device, and the IP address led straight back to his Burnsville home. As the case expanded, more victims surfaced. Postal inspectors reported widespread mail tampering, missing checks, altered money orders, and mail returned with obscene messages. On June 9, 2021, police took Mitteness into custody. After initially denying it, he admitted to stealing mail from blue post office drop boxes, altering money orders to himself, and depositing the funds. He told investigators he tampered with at least 40 pieces of mail, knowing it would disrupt people's lives. On June 30, 2021, he was convicted of theft over $1,000, and the mail theft charge was dropped. He was given 3 years probation, and once again he wasn't given any real consequences for stealing funds from innocent people. With the case closed and probation in place, life moved on, at least on paper. But behind closed doors, the financial behavior investigators had already seen didn't stop. This time, it wasn't a stranger's money. It was his mother's. Court records show that concerns over Sandra Mitteness' finances began surfacing in 2022, when checks written in her name were being cashed and deposited. As the financial activity continued, people close to Sandra noticed something else. She stopped showing up. She stopped answering calls. And over time, she became unreachable and wasn't heard from again. According to court records, by June of 2023, Burnsville police were investigating Troy Michael Mitteness for another mail theft when they noticed something unusual. Some of the stolen proceeds were being deposited into a bank account belonging to his mother, Sandra Mitteness. When police asked Troy about her whereabouts, his story shifted. First, he said she was in South Dakota. Then he claimed she had died in June of 2022. During a search of his home tied to the mail theft case, officers found an obituary for Sandra. But when they contacted the funeral home listed, they learned there had been no funeral, no service, and no record of her death. It was all a lie. Family members told police they believed Sandra had died because Troy told them so. He claimed she had fallen down the stairs, then said she was hospitalized with COVID and couldn't have visitors. Investigators also learned Troy had got rid of his mom's car shortly after claiming she died, pushing to get rid of it quickly. When police later examined the vehicle, testing indicated the presence of blood in the trunk. On July 6, 2023, officers executed another search warrant at Troy's Burnsville home. Testing on the stairs, a mattress, and a box spring all indicated the presence of blood. At this point, the investigation had taken a major shift and investigators brought Troy in for questioning. During the interrogation, it was clear Troy was less interested in speaking on what happened to the woman that gave birth to him, but was more interested in seeing if he could be released to see his dog Cody, and saying after that he would be able to talk about his mom. In between questions, he also asked for a cigarette numerous times. Investigators had a mountain of evidence including the blood, the fake obituary cover-up, and they also had computer evidence that he had been searching how to murder and stab a senior citizen in the least painful way. Investigators also gave him a lie detector test which he failed. As he started realizing investigators were not going to release him, he admitted he stabbed his own mother to death. He said the reason was because she had become suspicious of her finances and was questioning him about it. But there was a twist that took the shock of this crime to another level. He further confessed to the investigators that he dismembered his mother's body after stabbing her in the neck. He said he killed her on June 2, 2022. He said after dismembering her body, he then drove towards Appleton, Minnesota, and disposed of her body parts in different ditches along the way. Then on the next day, he was charged with second-degree murder. After the murder charges were announced, major media was all over the story. However, Troy sat in jail for some months. Then on December 12, 2024, he was indicted for first-degree murder. This meant he was now facing life in prison without the possibility of parole. He might have been used to having little to no accountability in his past criminal cases, but it was clear that would not be the case this time around. The Dakota County Attorney's Office made that clear by keeping the original second-degree murder charge along with the first-degree charge. There was no wiggling out of this in any way and no plea deals on the table, so he had no option but to take it to trial. The trial started in August of 2025. On August 13th of that month, a Dakota County jury found him guilty on premeditated first-degree murder, and they also found him guilty on intentional second-degree murder. 6 days later, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It was a wake-up call for him as he had to finally face full accountability for his actions and face it for the rest of his life. The prosecutor with the Dakota County Sheriff's Office shared a public statement after the convictions, stating that in her 34-year career this was one of the most horrific cases she has ever prosecuted. Troy Michael Mitteness is locked up at the Minnesota Correctional Facility Rush City at the time of this episode's release. The story of Troy Michael Mitteness is a story that shows how greed and selfishness took a person to extreme levels, beyond basic logic, and a betrayal of a mother's love. Now if you made it this far, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. And you already know to like, share the video, and comment your thoughts on this episode. Episode 7 is on the way.